Hello fellow chess players, welcome in today's video and the first video of our new series Tactics Explained. The point of this series is to explain you some difficult chess puzzles with a rating around 27 to 2900. In today's video we are covering 3 puzzles in the endgame and we will cover more topics in later videos. So let's dive into it. In this example, we have an ending where white has a knight and 3 pawns against a knight and 4 pawns. So black is a pawn up, and also he has a way more active king in the middle of the board than the white king who is stuck on the edge of the board. So if you consider this position for a few minutes, you will notice that black has 2 threats to play. So the first threat is to play knight to c4, which will avoid white from promoting the pawn on a8, because black can always play knight to b6 and he will always keep an eye on the a8 square. Also with knight to c4, he will support the a3 square, so the pawn can go to a3, and if the knight captures, then the black knight will recapture and he will reach b5 on time so that he can stop the pawn on a7. So that is the biggest threat that black has in the position. So a move like king to e7 to try and activate your king, this doesn't work. This fails to knight to c4. Because now, as I already explained, he pushes this and he can always go to b6 and avoid the pawn from promoting. Another threat of black is that he can play g4, and if white captures, he can recapture and this pawn will promote. This knight won't be able to stop the promotion on h1, as the active black king will always be able to hold the white knight off. So in this position, black just took a pawn on b2, and here it is white to move and to win the game. So I recommend you to pause the video here and find this winning move. As I already said, the biggest threat of black is to play knight to c4 and then push this pawn. How can you stop this? With the multi-purpose move knight to a3. So now white is ready to push this pawn and promote, so black has to do something about it by playing knight to d3. And if you try to promote, you can play knight to c5, a7, and now it looks like white just can promote this pawn, but no, because black has this knight to d7 check, so king has to move and then he can come to b6. But now it is very important where you place your king. For example, if you try to activate your king and approach your pawn on the queen side, this will fail to the move knight to b6. And now, for example, if you try to deflect away the knight, just knight to a8, and as I already explained, the threat is to play g4, and if white captures, king recaptures, and black will promote here. So king to e7 is a move that fails to knight to b6. Then what is the correct move to play here? Actually, it is king to f7. So it is a big difference with king to e7. With the point being, now with king to f7, you take control of all of these squares, so the black king cannot enter one of these squares, which will be important in a few moves. So yeah, black needs to avoid the promotion of the pawn, so he needs to play knight to b6, and now white can play knight to c4 with success. So you're threatening to capture the knight and then to promote the pawn, and if the black knight blocks the promotion of the pawn, can you see the mate in 1? It is knight to d6, checkmate. So that is why it was important to place your king on f7 to take guard of all of these squares. In the second example, black is up the exchange, but white has 2 connected pass pawns on the 6th and 7th rank. So it is white to move and win this game, so I recommend to consider this position for a few seconds or minutes and try to find the best move for white. So we need to find a forcing sequence of moves, which starts with bishop to d6 check. Other checks like bishop to h6, this fails to king to e7. Now the king is closer to the pawns, and white cannot push his passed pawns. So bishop to h6 is a bad move. Bishop to d6 is the correct move. So now there are two options for the black king. King can go to g7 or to g8, but king to g8, this will lose the game in a few moves after e7. Because now the king is on the 8th rank, and if black captures, white will promote with check. King has to move to the 7th rank, you will capture with check here, and after the king moves, you just play a move like bishop to e5 and you are threatening checkmate on the next move. So king to g7, king to g8 is a bad move. The best move is king to g7. Now you have to be aware of this threat of rook to h8, which will force the white king back to the first rank, and then black can capture with check, and you will be lost. So a threat that is in the position. So you need to avoid this by playing bishop to e5 with check. Now the black king wants to stay close to these pawns, so king back to f8. Other moves lose the game immediately. And now another good move for white is now bishop to f6. And in this position, believe it or not, the best move for black is to capture the pawn here. Other moves that you might consider is capturing the rook on d1. But then white has this e7 check, and after king to e7, just capturing the rook and promote to a queen. The bishop is covered by the queen, so the black king cannot capture. And if black promotes, now black will just get checkmated. Also, promoting to a queen immediately for black in this position, this also fails to e7 with check. There's always this promotion, the bishop that is covered, and even if black is threatening to checkmate on the next move, white will simply checkmate first. So that is why in this position a rook captured on d7 is the best move. And now of course you don't capture with this pawn, otherwise this rook will capture here and guard the promotion square, so you capture with the rook. Now black can promote, but now it is just checkmate on the next move. So black tries this h1 check, you capture, he promotes to a queen, but you just go king to h2. And now if black tries to avoid white from promoting or winning with playing queen to b5, queen to b5, just rook to d8 check, queen has to block, rook captures, king captures, and you have a winning end game position. So bishop to d6 was the move, and now it is important that your bishop is on this diagonal here. So then you may wonder why in this position isn't it good enough that the bishop is on this diagonal? What is the difference between the bishop standing on g5 or f6? Well, the difference is that after a rook captures on d7 and um, rook captures on d7, if black promotes to a queen, he's threatening checkmate on the next move. And now the bishop is on g5, so he's protecting these squares. But if he were on f6, he's also protecting this square, which is important because now white has to settle for a draw. With king to d8, king to g7, rook to d7, king to g8 or f8, doesn't really matter, and just back king to d8 check, and so on and on. So there is a big difference if the bishop is on f6 or on g5. In the third and final example, we have an ending with a knight, a bishop and a rook against a queen, which is always a difficult and tricky endgame to play. Well, in this position, it is white to move and to win this game. So I suggest that you consider the position here and try to find the winning move for white. So this move don't need a lot of explanation. You just need to spot this. It is knight to 8, a5. And now the black king has 3 squares to go. c3, a3 or a2. Let's start with king to a2, then just rook to a4, checkmate. If king to a3, then we have the same, just first bishop to c4, king has to go to a2, and then checkmate on the next move. And even if the queen blocks, you just capture with the bishop, and black is completely lost here. So king to a3 and king to a2 doesn't work. So king to c3. This is maybe the hardest move to find for white. It is rook to b4. So you're threatening to capture the queen, and you're threatening if the queen moves, checkmate on b3. So, for example, if the king captures, just knight to c6, forking king and queen. If the queen captures, just bishop to d2 with check, king has to move, and you capture the queen and you have a winning endgame. Or if black tries something else, like queen to g8 to prevent the rook from coming to b3, still rook to b3, and if the queen captures, yet again bishop to d2, king has to move, and you capture the queen and you have a winning endgame. Thank you guys for watching this video all the way to the end. We worked very hard to deliver a good end product, and we hope you guys enjoyed this video, of course, and we hope to see you in our next video. Bye bye.